What is up, everybody? Good morning. Happy Sunday. How y'all doing out there? I hope everyone's having a great weekend. I thought I would come on this morning and just chat with you guys about the body and how it's connected because I had some huge breakthroughs this week with some clients and just showing people how intertwined the body is and how fascinating it can be to watch someone see how you can heal naturally when you just kind of let go. Um, Before I get into that, I think a lot of people, especially in the health world, like in the fitness world, when I have a client who comes in from the gym rat world or the or and I think in general people think they know so much about health and so much about what the body needs and all that. Like they take their vitamins, they take their chewables, they take their whatever, and but they don't really know what they're doing, right? They claim to know because they saw it on Facebook or they saw it on um, Instagram, or their friend told them that drinking a shot of apple cider vinegar will help them lose weight, right? Like whatever it may be. It's like kind of laughable. Not to make fun, but it's just like, come on, you guys, like that's that, like, where's the research? And I mean, like, really, where's the research? So I think and the reason why I say that is because I think it's interesting when you have a lot of people who have been like working out twice a I mean, trust me, I used to do it twice a day, for weeks, months on end, and have terrible form or what have you, right? And again, the reason why I can say that and I can go down there is because I used to do that. I used to work out 2 times a week. That would be pitiful. I used to work out 2 times in one day. And when I say workout, I mean like in the gym, crushing it like crazy. And the thing I don't think people really get in terms of like movement, right? We're fed this term fitness. And I think that term sort of hurts our society as a nation, and just world society, because fitness is a very broad term, and I think a very damaging term. I think we need to think of overall health. I think we need to think of health as spiritual. I think we need to think of health as emotional, mental, physical, um, everything, nutritional, all of the above. And I think that with that term fitness, you think to yourself, um, how can I kill myself and beat up myself from, or not only beat yourself up, but you make a mistake, or you eat or drink something that you shouldn't. So your remedy for that is beat up the body into submission because I'm in shame and I shouldn't have done that. It couldn't be more terrible for you to do that. And I don't think people get that. And I think it's because people are running from possible trauma, but also they're running from like a deeper thing that's going on inside of themselves. Their energy is off. They have a deeper wound. They are doing something in life that they shouldn't be doing. They are running from life. I actually find it interesting. Like, this is not all. So I'm going to preface it with that. But every time I see someone who's running, I almost always think to myself, what are they running from? Like, what are they running from? Now, some people run because they get enjoyment out of it, and go ahead. I personally hate running. I think it's miserable. But I understand why some people enjoy it. But I also think to myself, are they like, what are they like truly running from? Is it themselves? Are they running from like the stress of life? Are they running from, did they eat something and they're shaming themselves, so they have to go for a 5-mile run because they need to beat their body up because they're in shame or in guilt or whatever. And that makes me that makes me sad and genuinely, it makes me sad because typically when you support the body properly, organs, muscles, tissues, all of it, it's not that hard. But I think we've been fed this lie that if you're not killing yourself, you're not doing enough. And since I've gotten into this world of nutritional muscle testing and figuring out what the body needs, and that everyone, and I mean everyone, is so different. Like, there are people that are on whole foods based things. There are people that are on carbon technology based things. There are people that are on homeopathics. There are people that are on, I mean, you name it. I mean, it is, or people who are just like, I'm looking at their food and testing what foods work for them. And it's so fascinating when I start to test somebody and people are like, they think it's normal to have a pain in their side, or they think it's normal to have a hurt wrist or whatever. And when typically, almost always, your hurt anything is a symptom of something deeper, right? It's not a symptom of, like, I get people all the time that say like, oh, my wrist hurt, I think I lifted too much weight. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because I lift weight heavy like that all the time. And I lift 30-pound bicep curls sometimes, and my wrists don't hurt. So what's the deeper issue there, right? So when you think about that, you kind of go, huh, what's really going on there, right? That's just a symptom of a deeper issue, of a deeper cause. But people think, oh, I have weak wrists. Well, why do you have a weak wrist? What's going on there that's even deeper than that, right? Or people who have low back pain. Why do you have low back pain? What's the deeper issue? What's the cause of that? And I can tell you, I suffered from lower back pain before I started my back pain journey. I had lower back pain for almost 10 years, and I just suffered through it because I was like taught, basically, I need to strengthen my core. So what was I was in the gym every single day doing crunches. Guys, let me tell you right now, crunches, they don't work. I mean, sure, it's strength, fine, but you're not doing anything, in my opinion. Like, I've seen people in practice that we just lift well and we move the body well, and the body is supported properly, and there's no stress, or stress is managed very well. They sleep great, and then they're recovering. Washboard abs. Because it's not about doing crunches. It's about, what are you doing on a daily basis that you need to do that, right? You could do crunches all day long and you're not going to heal your lower back pain, because it's not about, your lower back pain is a deeper problem than just doing ab exercises. Like, it's just, we've been fed this lie and this joke. It's literally, I laugh about it, because it's like, you really think that doing abs is going to make your waistline thinner? Like, you do realize that, again, when you're doing core work and you're doing crunches, right? You're squeezing, you're swelling that muscle. It's like the same thing doing a bicep curl, chest press, anything, legs. In 2 days' time, or even a day's time, what happens? It swells, because you've just put on load to a muscle, right? And then when you drink water, the water and the food is going to those muscles to swell those muscles. That's why they call it swole, right? Like, all that is going to the muscles. So I just think it's so funny when I see people doing crunches. I'm like, and you're going to have a bigger waistline tomorrow, because you're literally pushing and swelling that muscle group. It makes sense when you think about it, right? Like, the truth makes sense when you really start to think about it. So I'll go into a client that I had this past week, and we were doing fascial work, and she had been, coming in complaining about her neck for probably 2 months. We've been working on her neck for 2 months. And then God basically said to me, because I give credit to God all the time, every day of my life, because since I came to know God and came to surrender to Christ, and just started listening to that innate consciousness of God, and to the Spirit, I can almost always tell what it is, because it's like I listen to people, right? I see people. I want people to be healthy and cured and in no pain. I can't use the word cured. But I want people to be healthy, right? So this client comes into me, earlier this year in January, and is, suffering from neck. She can't move her neck. She has no mobility in her neck. And as we continue to get to know one another, and she was, basically confessing to me like everything that's happened in life. She was complaining about hip pain. Her SI joint has been a major problem in life for 10 years, right? She had an accident, and the doctor told her that she would always have SI joint pain. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what if we do some fascial work on that? What if I do some leg pulls and do some fascial work on that, and then and because again, I love when when I see people with posture issues, not only is it an organ issue, like an organ problem, organs are weak, so it's causing the body to decline or cave forward, because it's weak. So you're like, oh, I don't want to be in pain. So the body is either leaning forward, or it's leaning backward, or it's pitched forward, whichever. When the body has a fascial restriction, the connective tissue is being forced into that restriction. So once the body starts to come out of that and be released, you don't need to then force anything, because it's natural. The body naturally wants to be in that position, right? So as I started to, open up her hips and do some pulls, and her body was opening naturally, and the fascia was just starting to unwind and move, it was so interesting. This is why I love what I do, is because as the hips started to open up, what do you think started to open up and move, like completely start just to like unwind and move open? And just her neck literally just started to flop this way, that way, over, around. And her head was like, she came off of the table, and because that's normal in fascial work, because it's not massage work, right? It's literally like the tissue is being the tissue that holds trauma was being released, and therefore her neck could actually like unwind. And she had a very emotional response to that, and a very likely a spiritual one. And she was like, I basically said, I think this is a very profound session for you. And she was like, well, why? And I was like, you need to think about what just happened. You have been holding all of this trauma in your hips because somebody told you you're never going to heal that, or that's always going to be a problem for you. And now here we are, your neck is so stuck in this position. And of course it didn't happen like that your neck got stuck. It was over time that your hips were just so jacked up, and no one ever was gentle enough with you to release that. And now that your hips are opening up, your neck is opening up. Like, that's a very interesting connection, that all of a sudden and it comes from being in fear and being in the pain, right? Your hip is so scared of moving. So eventually over time, so is your neck. Your neck is going to stay stuck completely, right? So as we opened up her hips, and her hips started to just release, and I mean released, it was like crazy what was happening. And it was just like a complete release. But then she came out of it. She actually said, she was like, I'm so scared to let go. And I just kept saying, let go, let go, let go. And what happened? Her body was like emotional, just let out the tears. And I don't force that, because your body is either ready to do that or it's not. So anybody who's forcing you to have an emotional response isn't doing it correctly, because your body naturally just lets it out, right? So that happened over the week, and I was just like, wow, like, this is fascinating. When I see a client have a huge breakthrough, it's just so cool to watch it happen. And this is why I love it, and I love taking care of people, because I have had my own pains that no one told. I was always taught, like, you're always going to suffer with that. That's never going to heal. And it's just such a lie. Like, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that you will never be healed from something, because the body wants to be healthy. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the lie of, even when someone's diagnosed with something, I'm like, okay, I understand that that's what you've been told, but what if you didn't believe that? What if you just believed that your body could heal? That's where I come from. Because again, I had a client who's been going through it with detoxing recently, but that's okay. Detoxing is, you're gonna let go of things naturally, and it's gonna be a little sucky for a little while as you go through detoxing and actually healing the body properly, right? But she's had thyroid issues for 15 years probably, and she's on thyroid medication. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what to do, but clients will almost always be like, I think I'm going to start weaning off of this, or I think I'm going to talk to my doctor and wean off this. I'm like, great. If that's something that you feel like you need to do, then great. I'm happy for you, because that's great. It means you're getting healthier. So I've had her on a program now for just over a month. I would say like a month. No, maybe it's been a month, right? And she went to her doctor Friday, and she didn't tell me this until her session on Saturday. And on Friday, she says to me, as we're talking about her detox and talking about things coming out both ends, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of normal, especially when you have that much toxic load in you. Yeah, it's going to be kind of normal that you're going through it a little bit. Like, it just is. Like, I'm going through it, and so clearly I have a major toxic load, and I'm just starting to kind of finally find a calm in that, right? But my point is that, so she came to me on Saturday, told me that on Friday her doctor said, so I just want you to know that your thyroid is actually, your numbers are looking amazing. Like, your thyroid's healthier. You can, in 3 months come back and we'll see where we're at, but you might be able to come off of this, or at least, maybe not entirely yet, but in a year you might be completely off of this. And I was like, I literally started to cry, because I was like, just like tears of joy, because it's so awesome when people just start to say, because again, the truth resonates, right? When people start to go, I don't need medication anymore. Like, wow. And when you actually support things, you don't need to harm them. You don't need again, this is like, we've gotten into this world where, somebody goes, oh, you have this symptom, let's chase that symptom. So you have a thyroid issue, let's just medicate it. Well, and then you get labeled with hypo or hyperthyroid. And it's like, but like, what's the problem? If it's hyper or hypo, that's really just called dysfunction, right? There's just a dysfunction happening there. How do we fix that? Like, how do we get to the root problem that, and you have to support it, but what's really going on in the body that's causing it to dysfunction? Is it mold? Is it parasites? Is it chemicals? Is it metals? Is it stress? And for a lot of people, it is stress. It is mold. It is, like, I don't think that people realize we're being hit all the time by tons of toxins, and people wonder why they're sick. Like, it's not, you're not toxic. You're not sick. You're toxic. Like, being sick is a result of a toxic load, as a result of something that you're putting into the body, where the body is taking on from the environment or your own environment, stress, whatever, unhappiness in relationships, or, that all factors in. So it's just so interesting when people start to wake up to what is keeping them from their health. It's interesting when you start to just go, that's not the problem. This is actually, like, we're getting to the cause of it, right? Oh, wow, I have mold in my body. I've been having, or wow, I have a client in Chicago who is on a parasite cleanse right now. And, the first week and a half were rough. He was like, I have headaches. And I was like, yeah, but like, people don't realize that the headache is from you having parasites in your gut, and your gut, your liver, all of that stuff is connected to the brain. And all these, everything is so interconnected. And I think when people start to realize, oh, wow, that makes sense. Like, when all this load is being released, of course I'm getting a headache, because I've never addressed the toxic load. And unfortunately too, like, people don't give headaches an emotional connection, because when you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or when you're holding off on something that you should do, you can actually get a headache. And a headache is all that is, in my opinion, is you're either doing something that you should do, doing something that you shouldn't do, not doing something that you should do, so it's emotional, or you're ingesting something toxic that is causing a problem. So all of that to say, I just think that a lot of people don't really understand health. They think they do, or they pretend to, because they're, they've just been taught to not trust themselves. They've been taught to think that the body can't heal itself. I have clients who constantly come in and they're like, I think I have this problem. And I'm like, well, why? Well, because this one little muscle is twitching. Well, what the heck? That doesn't mean that you have that. That means that you have a deeper issue going on, but you are so afraid of listening to something different because it goes against everything that you know, and that's okay. It comes when it comes. Like I don't know what else to say about that, right? I think it just comes down to when you can allow yourself to go to a different direction and allow yourself to heal naturally. Again, like what is the truth? When you feel something is actually correct and it hits correctly, you will start to take the action because you're like, yeah, that actually makes sense. Or you just try something new, you try to change and try to do one thing new, and what happens is that when it makes sense, it just works. So it's just like mental stuff, right? People don't think that the mind has a powerful effect on the body, and guys, it does. Like you can bring on disease, you can bring on a negative mindset, you can bring on a divorce, you can bring on a dysfunction in the family, you can bring on a dysfunction in your health just by creating it. Literally, it's called sabotaging yourself, right? People do not give the mind enough weight, and I think that we are constantly fed. Again, we're not in control of our own thoughts. We are being told how to think instead of we are not being told how to think. We're being told what to think. So when you start to tell yourself, I want to know how to think, not what to think. I don't want someone to tell me how to think. I want to make my own decision and I want to think about that. And that's how you think. That is allowing your brain and your mind to truly think for itself. You want to open a business? It's the only thing that's holding you back is you. When you just start to take the risk and you just start to say, this is going to work every single day, guess what? It will work. You just can't self-doubt you can't have self-doubt. The second you doubt yourself, it's over, right? And it takes time. I've been working on my own mind and my own thoughts for 15 years now, since I realized the power of the mind. And every time I go into even a little bit of self-doubt, I have to say to myself, stop it. Like, what are you doing? Stop. You don't need to think like that. Think calmly, think rationally. Does it make sense? Does it ring true? Pray on it, think on it, right? Be logical, but also be really thoughtful on does that make sense for me, right? So I just wanted to come on today and again talk about just how interconnected the body is, and that when you start to be honest with yourself, but also be honest with your practitioner, you can actually make a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of headway. And I think a lot of people are just so afraid of letting go because they're like, well, I've never trusted myself, or I've never allowed someone to help me, or I've never given myself the time that I know I need to heal this part of me. And that comes down to a lot more than just working out. Okay, we've been told to work out and kill ourselves. Stop doing that. You can work out efficiently and work out 3 days or 2 or 3 days a week. I work out probably 4 days a week just because I feel good doing it, but I don't do it for 2 hours. I do like a 30-minute to an hour per day. And then I'm also walking and cleaning thing. We've just been, again, taught this lie that if you're not on the Stairmaster every single day for hours, killing yourself and sweating to death, then you're not doing enough. And it couldn't be more opposite. The body actually takes that as stress and then doesn't sleep great. You're not absorbing nutrients because your body is so stressed out and overworking, and because you're working on top of the workout. So I just think that people need to realize that you need to address the problem and what's really going on, the underlying source, as opposed to running from it or building up this like intense wall of building up, right? Building, like, a lot of guys like to have a big chest. And I'm like, well, I have a chest and my chest is very muscular, but is it like out to here? No, because what is that doing? You're protecting yourself from something. You don't want to feel something. You're afraid of what that is, whatever it is. I don't know. That's only you can answer that. But when you have somebody who can listen to you and genuinely can like feed you the truth and through what you're saying, that's really where the power is. So take your power back and start to understand. I hope this helps and helps you understand that everything is connected. Everything, you can do anything you want to. You just need to take it back. You need to take your life back and stop being told what to think. Start thinking. Start actively using your own brain to think. Okay. Have a really great Sunday. God bless you all. And I will talk to you sometime this week.